So you're thinking about getting a PlayStation 2?
Well, I have one, but I don't have a white one, so I want one of these. This is pretty cool.
So today we're going to go over the two different models of the PlayStation 2 and how much you can expect to spend on them.
So this is the first model that I remember we had one of these. We got one of these brand new, the fat style one. This is primarily what I see all the time. So it's probably fairly common on the marketplace, right? Like as far as used eBay, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can. As far as either of them go, they're really not rare systems to get, but the fat is pretty easy to come across.
Right. Does it have it has disc tray problems at points, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if you are,
disc tray actually comes out.
Yeah, if you are thinking about getting one of the fat PS2 models, one thing you're gonna really want to make sure is that the disc tray doesn't have issues. And when you press the open button, you'll hear a shudder. It's very unmistakable. You will be able to tell right away. Yeah.
Okay.
And it can even have the shutter and still work, but that is kind of the signs that it is on its way out. And that's really common with the old ones.
Right. How many shillings about would you get for like the AV cables, the power cable, one of these, and
a controller.
And probably a memory card too.
Yeah, for that little bundle, you should be expecting to spend about $40 if you're buying it locally, maybe upwards of $60 if you're going on eBay, maybe a little more.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
To be fair, right?
And the one thing that's nice about this one is it does not have a power supply. It is just a power cable, which is different than the Slim.
Internal. But the Slim has some differences.
Yeah, that's right. So the Slim itself, this was the second generation. You can see mine is white. Most of them you'll find will be black. But yeah, it was the later release, and they have a lot less issues. The common issue they have is not being able to read discs. Not that the other one doesn't have that issue. It can also have that issue.
Difference being that it actually flips open like an older style console, right? Like that's the big difference here. And the other thing is, I also know that these are actually faster. They'll load discs faster than the fat model does.
That's right. Yeah, it'll load faster. And something I just touched on quickly was that this will have its own power supply. There are a couple of the later models that just have a power cord, but this one does have its own power supply. So beware if you buy it. Make sure it comes with the power supply. Otherwise, you are going to end up spending at least another $20, if not more, just trying to find the power supply. Now, price-wise on this guy, if it was a black one, you should be able to find that for probably somewhere between $50 or $60 for the same bundle. So it's really not that much more. And if you go on eBay, it might be closer to $80, but every day of the week, we would recommend you getting the Slim over the fat.
Just because they aren't that much harder to find than the fat, and they're more reliable than the fat. You might spend a little bit more money, but you're going to have a better console at the end of the day, and probably one that's going to last longer.
Yeah, and for Sony, this was kind of the first console where you could get the variants of different colors, this one being white. And there are some other colors out there. So if you really want to dive into doing the collecting of the consoles, this might be a good place to start. But it might not be. It's a personal preference, but that is kind of our take on which console you should pick. As for where you should buy it,
the usual places.
Yeah, the usual places. I mean, I would say very importantly for the fat, you really want to see it working if you're going to be buying it for the disc tray. I mean, you can always roll the dice if you get it cheap enough, but
in some cases you won't always have a place to test consoles, or you're shipping it, you don't have that option. But that pretty much lays out what you're going to need to know in buying a PS2. Excuse me. And from there, please like and subscribe. There's going to be something on your screen. And I do the editing in these videos, so like I'm going to make sure that something covers his face, because we're doing more PS2 stuff in the future. So there's going to be something covering his face eventually.